when I watched your early videos with Pete,
The pastor's perspective.
The pastor's perspective.
Church administration.
And I just thought that was fascinating. His appreciation for that gift of administration in the church was just superb. He recognized it. Pete is one of the best preachers and expositors of God's word that I know, and I've listened to a lot around the world. And he is just superb, and a lot of people would argue that. But he's the first one to say, and when he was, in church leadership here and was working with, other ministries in the past, I remember doing some of his admin for that, and he's always looking to get the right people around him, and I think that is crucial.
Absolutely right. He really does value it, and I think if you're a pastor or a minister that's linking into this and listening and watching, take that same premise that Pete has. He realized early on in his ministry that actually I need people around me who have these gifts, have these skill sets to help and serve the church in the behind the scenes stuff.
That's quite a brave thing to do, though, Gav, isn't it? Because, and I was reflecting on that video, because when the first church pastor, the pressures on them are immense. There's so many people. As if the church grows, there's so many people to get around. There's so many sermons to prepare. There's lots of stuff going on. The natural inclination is to get someone to help them with the teaching burden, the pastoral burden. And actually, a lot of the stuff that they are drowning in is that organizational stuff.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Dealing with people, you can actually solve a lot of problems just by organizing people and telling people what they should be doing.
Absolutely right.
Giving them the framework. So for those pastors, actually, it's a brave decision. To go down that route rather than the obvious route.
I know so many pastors who feel like they're failures because they try and do the two roles, and it's inevitable that some things are just going to come down crashing, and they feel like failures, and some even end up leaving the ministry because they feel like they've let people down. And I'm just in the middle of writing a course for pastors, and for ministers that actually goes, how do you organize things? How do you manage yourself? How do you manage a church? And not that they would go and do all the managing, but actually know then how to delegate and what to delegate. And I think that's one of the topics that I've really felt like God saying to me, put something together that's going to serve pastors and strengthen pastors, because lots of situations in Wales and maybe other places in the UK don't have the funds to necessarily employ someone or as a voluntary service. But actually, if we've got a minister who knows how a church should be managed and is able to delegate and build around him, those skills are crucial. And those things are not covered in training, are they?
They're really not. I mean, when I did my training through the years here in Christchurch and in America, we didn't do there wasn't a module on how to read a spreadsheet or how to make sure that the
church management stuff.
There's none of that. But I would argue, Gav, and it's been really interesting to be involved in other areas of leadership, and even now, I would argue that skill is needed in all forms of leadership. That ability to delegate, that ability to get the right people around you. And I've been involved in change management in a lot of organizations. So to get an organization to that place of being well run, well ordered, well organized, well financed is incredibly difficult. I'm doing it at the moment, with a town council that wants to modernize and wants to become more relevant to its community. So the same principles, I would argue, I did learn them in pastoral ministry, in serving in administration, but I've carried those over. And I agree with you. I think it is really, really challenging for guys on their own. I don't envy them at all, and they do a great job.
Absolutely.